Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Railbookers presentation of top 5 holidays to the Italian lakes. Excuse me. My name's Gareth. I hope you're all doing well. First and foremost, what I'd like you all to do, please, is in the control bar on the right-hand side, there's a little area that says questions. If you wouldn't mind just popping a note in there saying hello, who you are, and where you're tuning in from, because it's really good to find out where you all are. I'm up in York myself, visibly working from home. But also just making sure that you can all hear me and you can all see the right screen as well. As far as I can start, see my side of the technology all looks good. Fiona, you're in York as well. How are you doing? Nice to hear from you. Shame the sun's not shining as much as it was yesterday, but hey, it's still quite warm. And the Algarve, my word, Tamsin, thanks very much for tuning in. Andrew, good to hear from you. Glad to hear everything's working well. Hi, Pam. Wendy, nice to hear you. Siren Sester, lovely, good stuff. Right, okay, well, without further ado, hello everybody. That's me, Gareth Jones. I'm the product manager of Railbookers. So prior to lockdown of things, I was the one traveling around on trains quite a bit, meeting hotel partners, having a hand in putting all these great packages together. I say they're great, of course they're great, they're mine. I don't mind at all. But since the lockdown, obviously, I've been enjoying other things, very much sort of enjoying presenting such webinars as this, meeting lots of prospective customers, etc. Also looks slightly different. I made the mistake of asking my wife for a haircut at the beginning of lockdown, so I'm really looking forward to getting a proper haircut again very soon. So I'll start looking a little tidier, shall we say. Many of you have found the control bar with the questions bit, which is great. Please, first of all, make use of that throughout the whole webinar. Any bits that don't make sense at all, any questions you have in terms of any slides, please do chime in on there. I've got it open, so I'll see your questions coming. I'll do my best to kind of tackle them as we go along, but if not, we will have a dedicated 5 minutes at the end of the webinar just to go through any questions you have. So feel free to save them until the end or fire them off as we go through. Also, though, the handouts bit just below the questions, in there, there's three different documents for you to download and do as you will with. A couple just about sort of holidays closer to home, UK city breaks and things like that. Things about the Italian lakes, which we're going to look at, but also there's a handy rail map, which you might like to get hold of. A quick rundown of what we're going to cover. So we're going to cover some Italian lake holidays, not far from home, really, easy to get there. We're going to look at a few different routes to get there as well. Starting your holiday from any UK station. So you're not just tied to coming from London. Of course, that's where the Eurostar leaves from, of course, but a lot of them will feature a flight out. You fly from any local airport. You're not tied down to one particular airline, one particular airport. We're going to look at more European lake holidays as well, not just the Italian lakes. We're going to look at some other lakes as well. Weekend getaways and how European rail operators are providing a safe environment. No problem, Wendy. Glad you tuned into the Railbookers webinar. Don't worry about flying. We can get you there by train and back as well. But also, yeah, what European rail operators are doing in terms of this new world we're living in, social distancing, etc. Quick rundown of who we are and what we do. So Railbookers offer, what do we offer? Confirmed seat reservations. It sounds obvious, but it's important to state. We have access to the train fares before they're made available to the public. So we can get in there and get these seats booked before anybody else can, really. Sightseeing activities. I always think Rome is a good example. Yes, there's no lake in Rome, but there is the Colosseum, there's the Vatican Museum. If you go to Rome, if you haven't been, it's great, but it's really worth going, one of those things. We can provide skip the line tickets, so you're not stuck outside for hours on end in a long queue waiting to get in, maximizing your time in the destination, doing what you want to do in the destination. Hotels. Great range, ranging from 3-star up to 5-star in all the major destinations. City centre, of course, one of the key points about travelling by train is you're arriving from city centre into the city centre. A lot of the time, the hotel will be close to the station as well. At times of change, where historically the area around stations has never been the best area. Well, in many cities now it's just changed. Around the station is quite good, quite nice area to be, where you can just walk over the road with your bags and things. If not, we'll of course advise you the quickest way to make the journey by public transport, or we can also include a private transfer for you, so your own private driver waiting at the end of the platform to help you and your luggage get to your hotel. Ferries, quite handy if we're going to look at some lakes, to look at some ferries as well, but not just sort of scenic lake cruises across Lake Maggiore, Garda, Como, of course, but even in Switzerland, Lake Lugano, Lake Lucerne. But also using it as a form of transport from A to B. We've got a wonderful package, goes up to uses the Copenhagen to Helsinki ferry. So if you're looking to go up to Finland, you can take the ferry up there. Excursions, so obviously mountain rails, you see there, very popular in Switzerland, of course, but again, we'll look at some destinations in some of these packages shortly around Italian lakes, where you can take a really nice funicular journey to the top of a mountain and get some amazing panoramic views across the lake and the surrounding area. Overnight rail journeys as well. We'll look at one particular one, convenient way of getting to Italy, but also obviously the private trains, Venice Simplon-Orient-Express, etc. But there's some great work being done in mainland Europe, particularly by Austrian rail and the Czech rail operator, actually, in terms of bringing lots of just regular sleeper trains back. Previously, they withdrew a lot of them just because they weren't making any money, but happily, so beginning of last year, they started bringing a lot of routes back, and it's such a convenient, great way of traveling. Also in today's world, in terms of social distancing, having a private cabin to yourself, so you're not sharing with any other passengers, that sort of social interaction, you can avoid that if you want. You have your own bed, fresh, kind of clean bedding, a breakfast brought to your cabin in the morning, that sort of thing. It's such a functional way of traveling, leaving somewhere in the evening, arriving there in the morning, but also a great sense of adventure as well. So yeah, all of those, we can factor all of those into the holidays. Why do travellers love Railbookers? If you haven't, if you're new to us, if you're familiar with this, sorry about repeating this, but if you're new to us, it's good to know. Bucket list experiences for special occasions. So some of the destinations we'll look at today, some of the Italian lakes particularly, but also some of the train service mentioned, the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. Special occasions, holidays, anniversaries, some of the trains, such a huge, vast area in terms of something special and bucket list experience, the destinations themselves. We include all of those in the many, many packages we offer. Freedom and flexibility. You're traveling independently. You're not part of a group. We essentially kind of have to abide by what time the trains are and how many nights you've got booked at a hotel and that sort of thing. But the rest of the time, you're up to your own devices. You can experience and kind of enjoy your holiday at your own pace. The scenic way to travel. I mean, you've all tuned into a Railbookers webinar. I'm sure you're all kind of familiar with the joys of traveling by train. You get to see the landscape you're passing through. Sort of amazing journeys that kind of travel around the shores of lakes, through the Alps. You really get to experience the land that you're passing through. And so, some train journeys, the train is the only way to see the certain scenery, particularly across the US, for example, the California Zephyr rocking through the Rocky Mountains. There's no other way of seeing that scenery apart from traveling by train. All of our itineraries are customizable. Really important point, this. So we'll look at some holiday packages shortly, but if you want to chop them or change them or do your own thing with them, that's absolutely fine. We cater for that, absolutely. If you don't want to fly, we'll have a rail return option for you as well, so you can take the train out and the train back. Absolutely no problem at all. If you want to come to us and say, this is what I want to do, I can't find it on your website, I can't see a package that fits it, this is what I want to do, go from here, 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 and here, no problem at all, we can do that. From 2 days to 2 years, our holidays go anytime, any day, anywhere. They do. So all of our holiday packages are priced out 2 years in advance. So guaranteed package prices until June 2022 at the moment. Now, a very small deposit, and that secures that amount. There's no change in that total cost for you. Also, though, if you're looking to kind of get away pretty soon, I mean, it's quite limited at the moment, but I'm sure everyone's got their fingers crossed that things do open up a bit better throughout this year. Maybe it's looking October, November, for example, looking to get away. We can cater for that. We can kind of take care of everything and get all the travel documentation to you within 2 days prior to the start of your trip. Just continue on that kind of flexibility side of things. Maximum flexibility offer we have in place. It's only right that all operators have such a thing at this time. So essentially, any new reservations made from now up until the end of September, so when we say new reservations, say deposit paid, travel any date, are covered by this. Essentially, you can change the travel dates or cancel the trip up to 5 days prior to departure without incurring any change or cancellation fees. So there's no sort of added fee to us from us for you to change your date. And just on that sort of support side of things as well, it's important to note that we have offices throughout across the world, really. So the main office in London, and then Beverly, Massachusetts, just north of Boston, Toronto, Canada, and Laguna Hills, just south of Los Angeles, and Sydney, Australia. I've had the office in Sydney for coming up to 2 years now. Wherever you are in the world on any holiday at any destination, you'll be able to contact a member of our staff at any time. You'll have an emergency number. Any problems that might arise, anything you need from us, you can always give us a call and we can help. Here's that map that I said you can get from the handouts bit on the control bar. We take the mystery out of rail travel. We do. If you think about trying to put together a holiday, looking at all these different rail operators traveling across 2 or 3 different countries, it's very tricky. It's not the easiest thing to do at all. But that's where our direct rail partnerships come in. We have direct rail partners with all the major rail operators throughout Europe and the world. As said, we have access to train tickets, with a lot of them up to 2 years in advance via rail in Canada, for example. We can put those cabins way ahead of the made available to the public. And then what are the rail operators doing to maintain a safe environment in this new world? Well, all of them are requiring facial coverings in stations and on trains for passengers and staff. Stopping the sale of food and drink on board trains. So in Germany, they're not doing it. In Germany, they're actually keeping the buffet cars open, just so you can get a coffee or bratwurst or something, or beer. What's great, we're going to look at Italy particularly, of course, shortly. In Italy, Trenitalia are one of the best rail operators in Europe. They really are. Some great train services. If you're traveling on one of their high-speed trains, the Frecciarossas, Frecciagentos, between all the major cities, all passengers will get a little travel pack. And the travel pack, there'll be a mask, there'll be a hand sanitizer, there'll be a covering to put over the back of your seat. So every passenger is provided one of those. Now, for the foreseeable future, all operators doing this, changing seat configuration allocation on board to allow for social distancing. So essentially, trains on the whole are going to be running at around about 60% capacity for the foreseeable future, which really means that availability is even in shorter supply as it would be on in a normal year, for example. Simply just there aren't as many seats available on the trains. Increased cleaning and sanitation, so not just at the end or the start of the journey, but it's actually staff on board going throughout and kind of disinfecting, sanitizing the whole train and making sure it's clean, but also contactless ticket control. I think we all need to get used to sort of waving our mobile phones around and being a ticket or a barcode to scan rather than having a physical bit of paper. We know because we do. All of our staff every year get to go on one of our holidays. Not all on one holiday, because that'd be a lot of people on one holiday. But we're all very experienced in terms of what we offer, from the people you speak to on the phone, the sales guys, to the guys in the deepest, darkest back office, the accounts. Get them out once a year to go and enjoy a holiday. No, everyone is sort of experienced. It's where we've got some of our best suggestions in terms of improving our services and our experience. It's really important, I think, to be speaking to people over the phone that know what they're talking about, and that's what we have. So let's have a look at some holiday packages. Best of the Italian lakes. Best of the Italian lakes. You catch the little trick in here. It's a bit of a cheeky one. Starting in Zurich, overnight in Zurich, and you travel down to Stresa on Lake Maggiore for 3 nights on glorious Lake Maggiore. Then a train journey through Milan up to Lugano. 2 nights in Lugano, yes. Those eagle eyes of you will note that Lugano is not in Italy. Italian speaking, however. 2 nights on the shores of Lake Lugano, and then down to Como for 3 nights. Now, Como, the holiday is based on this tiny little village called Cadenabbia. Cadenabbia hotel here, you've got all-inclusive experience for the 3 nights as well. Beautiful, just to get away from it all, away from any major city and things like that. There's regular transfers to and from Como town itself. But yeah, beautiful, just peace and quiet for 3 nights on Lake Como. Before taking the train up to Zurich and flying out. Zurich's great. Zurich, the airport in Zurich's great in terms of busy railway station, great to run, things like that. If you don't want to take the train, if you don't want to fly, no problem at all. Easy. Easy. So you take the Eurostar to Paris and then a direct TGV train from Paris to Zurich and vice versa, on the way back. You could even take a direct train from Milan to Paris and then Paris up to London as well. Wendy, great question. Great question. Just going back to the restaurants on board the trains, great question. What do you do about food? But one of the joys about traveling by train is you can take a picnic with you. Take your own provisions. You're not flying. You're not on an aeroplane where you completely what you're taking with you is regulated. You can't take food on. Quite nice. I mean, the Marks and Spencers at St Pancras, really great. Good sandwich selection. But yeah, take a picnic with you. Take a flask. Depending on the time of the train, of course, a bottle of wine, perhaps. Don't forget to get a screw top rather than the cork, much easier. Anyway, Lake Lugano, beautiful, of course, Italian-speaking region, Ticino of Switzerland. Here you've got some great funicular journeys to the top of the mountains to enjoy the view across the lake and the Alps as well. Included here is a personal food tour as well. So essentially you're given details of some beautiful local restaurants to go and visit and meals and things like that. Really lovely, sort of experience that very hard to get really under the skin of the destination, understanding what the locals experience, etc. Lake Maggiore. I always think it's amazing that it's the second biggest. I always think it's kind of Garda first, then Como, then Maggiore, but Maggiore is the second biggest Italian lake. Based in Stresa here. So Stresa, ancient kind of resort on the shores of Lake Maggiore. Hotel's called La Palma. Beautiful old classic hotel, lovely pool right by the lake as well. You've got a hop-on, hop-off ferry pass here to get out on the lake and enjoy some of the beautiful islands. Bella and Isla Madre. Yeah, gorgeous destination. Mediterranean style climate a lot of the time. A lot of the gardens on the islands have Mediterranean style flowers and things. Obviously, a huge great flock of parakeets as well. So really kind of tropical experience. And then Como, of course, the most well-known of all the Italian lakes. As mentioned, it's staying in Canabria in this package, so you've got to transfer from Como station around the lake. It's on the western shores of Lake Como. It's actually just about 15 minutes walk from Villa Carlotta, which is a beautiful old palazzo, Napoleon's old bolt hole from the 19th century. Now got a wonderful art collection as well. It's one of the main kind of sites to go and check out when you're on Lake Como. But yeah, literally 15-20 minutes walk from Canabria. As I said, there are regular transfers, tours running back to Como if you want to get some dinner for a restaurant there, but it is all inclusive in Canabria as well. Lovely, just quiet few days away by the lake. This fits the bill, it really does. Next, right, so we looked at flying into Zurich and coming down Zurich or taking the train from Zurich down. Venice and Lake Como via the Alps. So via the Alps is a sort of a range of holiday packages that we have. And they all consist of the same route out. And the same route out is London to Paris, Paris to Geneva. Overnight in Geneva, that way you've got great Hotel Cornavin just over the road from the station. Really nice and convenient for a one-night stay. Get there about 6 o'clock, drop your bags off, go and enjoy the old town in Geneva down by the lake. And then the next morning, early breakfast, but the train leaves around about sort of 8 o'clock in the morning. Direct train through Milan to Venice, Geneva to Venice direct. Geneva to Milan, you're passing through the Simplon Pass, one of the most historic scenic train routes in Europe. It's where the name Venice Simplon-Orient-Express gets the Simplon bit from. Amazing scenery, kind of skirting Lake Maggiore. Through Milan, you skirt around Lake Como before you cross the bridge into Venice proper. 3 nights Venice, and then back to Milan. We take the train up to Como. 3 nights in Como, so 3 nights actually in Como, the town itself. Hotel here's the Metropole and Swiss classic, wonderful old hotel in the center of Como town. Beautiful, kind of the same family have owned it for hundreds of years. Get some beautiful balcony views in some of the rooms. 3 nights here, and then a quick journey down to Milan for the flight back. Or Now here's the interesting bit. Really, the route that we always suggest people take back, looking to travel back from Italy by train, is to have a night in Turin. So you can go from Milan to Turin, overnight in Turin. Again, really convenient star hotel just over the road from the station. Turin, a kind of less known city in Italy compared to Rome, Florence, Venice, of course, but really interesting, real foodie destination. Some great art galleries there. Of course, you've got the Shroud of Turin as well, but some really interesting art galleries there. And then the next morning, the train leaves about 10 o'clock in the morning, so convenient time. Change in Paris, you're back in London by 7:30. Now, that Turin train actually starts in Milan, so you could just stay in Milan as well. But you know, it's about an 8 o'clock start in the morning rather than a 10 o'clock start in the morning. So, but again, really convenient. Just a TGV train, so a French sort of high-speed train from Turin up to Paris. Change stations in Paris. We always leave a good couple of hours, so you've got plenty of time to do that. And then on to London. Simplon Pass, as I said, one of the most historic routes, rail routes through the Alps. Beautiful, obviously, alpine scenery, but of course, as mentioned, you're skirting Lake Maggiore and Lake Garda, heading into Venice. So some beautiful scenery along the way. Really is special. Now, following the Simplon theme, the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express with Lake Garda and Lake Como. Bucket list stuff, absolutely. The Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. There's no experience like it if it's a birthday, anniversary, or whatever. Once in a lifetime experience, it really is. I did it myself 10 years ago now, very lucky indeed. But your train only runs between March and October, so it doesn't run throughout the year. It's amazing. So you're on the British Pullman departure from London to the coast, and then there is a coach journey, an executive kind of coach, very smart, through the tunnel, and then you pick up the proper Venice Simplon-Orient-Express train in Calais. Big brass band welcome. It's all quite embarrassing for like me, but it's part of the experience. And then, yeah, as you expect, the food is absolutely amazing. The service is amazing. The cabins have such personality, beautiful. Obviously, there are a couple of special suites now which have ensuite facilities. But if not, the regular twin cabins they're quite compact. It's a historic train. They're quite small, but that's part of the fun. It really is. So obviously arriving into Venice around about sort of 5:30, 2 nights in Venice, then heading over to Sermione and Lake Garda, possibly my favourite part of the Italian lakes. I mean, I love the place, I really do. And a history of kind of this tiny peninsula that pokes out into Lake Garda. You walk over a drawbridge through this old castle walls into this kind of it's beautiful. And then onto Como for 2 nights on Lake Como again, and then down to Milan with the hop-on, hop-off bus tour in Milan before flying back to the UK, or taking the train if you'd rather. As mentioned, the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. There is no other train experience like it. There really isn't. I've been on a few private trains. I'm very lucky. But the Simplon-Orient-Express, there is no experience like it. Really, very, very special indeed. The food itself is fantastic. The quality of service, but the care they take of each individual customer as well. Because the bar car, very much the hub of the train, and good fun in the evening. And as mentioned, Lake Garda. So that's an image of the Sermione Peninsula. You can see the tower there. That's when you walk through this drawbridge and the towers above you. There's Catullus, the old Roman emperor, has this ancient kind of Catullus ruins of his villa in Sermione. Maria Callas has a house there. You can take a little boat trip out just off the shores. And it's amazing, the kind of thermal bubble patches were just kind of bubbling away, this thermal shoots coming up. People always ask about swimming. Can you swim? Can you have a swim in one of the lakes? You can. There's a few beaches just down the shore from Lake Garda, going up to Riva del Garda, with kind of a few kind of swimming patches, bits up there, a bit clearer. Como, Lake Como is really deep. They're quite close to the shore as well. Lake Como is very deep. Excuse me. So again, there's a few places just about from Como itself, and Maggiore, absolutely, again, there's a few places, not from Stresa itself really, but further along the shore, whereas more beach style, things like that. But of course, mentioned the La Palma Hotel in Stresa, wonderful outdoor pool, and the hotel in Cadenabbia, the Britannia Hotel, lovely infinity pool right by the lake as well, so it's pretty special. So we've had a look at flying in, coming in via Zurich. We've had a look at via the Alps coming in via Geneva. We've had a look at the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. Now, the Bernina Express, which is possibly, I would say, the most scenic train journey in Europe. And so I met my wife on the train, nearly coming up to 15 years ago. What is the time there? But it's amazing scenery, it really is. So here, train out, London, Paris, change Paris to Zurich, overnight in Zurich. Bit of a running theme with me, but wonderful old town. Zurich really does have a lovely old town. Some great restaurants, great bars, cobbled streets down by the lake. Great place to enjoy an evening. In the morning as well, Zurich's got a great collection of art galleries and museums, so certainly something to keep you busy in the morning. But down to Chur, and then on the Bernina Express through to Tirano in northern Italy. From Tirano, you've got a regional train to Milan, and then head up to Como as well. 3 nights in Como, and then either a flight back from Milan or, again, the Turin stop off before taking the train back. So with the flight, just under £1,200 per person, rough for Paris for the Turin train back, probably say coming up to £1,350 per person, £1,320 per person. So it is more, but it's not considerably more. You also get a private walking tour of Como, so really maximising your experience in Como itself. But again, part of the holiday is the joy of travelling there, and there's no other joy on a train in Europe, better joy, I'd say, than the Bernina Express. Really something else. If you've done it before yourselves, I hope you'd agree with me as well. But they sort of, you say crystal blue, but they're more sort of alpine green, I think. These beautiful clear alpine lakes, and really one of the highest peaks in the Swiss Alps. And then past coming down, you go over the Landwasser Viaduct, huge, great kind of viaduct between two mountain peaks, or the Brusio Viaduct, which is more like a corkscrew going down 360. If the train was going at any speed, it would be classed as a roller coaster, I think, but it's not. It's going very slowly, so you get to enjoy some beautiful views and great pictures of the back of the train. And then you come down into this palm tree valley of northern Italy. Really, really beautiful. I don't think there's any better day spent on a train than on the Bernina Express. You've got time in Tirano, sorry, for a quick pizza or a bowl of pasta or a glass of wine. There's a couple of really good pizzeria, local tavernas there, before the regional train to Milan and on to Como. Just adding something else onto the holiday as well. You've got the great relaxing destination like Como, but the joy of the Bernina Express with it as well. And then finally, combining the mountains with the lakes again, my word. So this one, again, part of that kind of flexibility side of things is if you want to do things the other way around, to start in Rome, for example. That's what we do here, fly to Rome and then make your way north. You do it the other way around, start in Zurich and make your way south, whichever way you want to do it. Again, flying to Rome, it's quicker and more economical. If you want to take the train, we'll look at some routes. You could take the sleeper train from Paris, the Tello trains, about T-H-E-L-L-O. Really good fun, private cabin. They've got a couple of ensuite cabins now, good restaurant on board, or otherwise you take a picnic with a bottle of wine with you. Down to Milan, change trains in Milan, take a direct train to Rome. Really easy. Either way, 2 nights in Rome. Up to Milan for a night. No, sorry, I'm confusing myself with the map here. 2 nights in Rome, all the way up to Lake Maggiore, 2 nights in Stresa. Train over to Como, 2 nights in Como, down to Milan for a night. And then you've got that joyful journey of the Bernina Express. Instead of staying at Chur, stay in Samaritz. It's got the glitz and glamour of Samaritz right by a beautiful lake. And then you've got the full length of the Glacier Express up to Interlaken, 2 nights Interlaken, between 2 lakes, amazing lakeside setting. During that full day in Interlaken, you've got a journey on the Jungfrau Railway, the highest railway station in Europe. It's always ice. There's always snow up there. No skiing, but there's a huge glacier at your feet as you look across on a clear day. You see as far as Germany, France, Italy. Also, they can, if you make it get up early and get up there, you come down in the early afternoon, and then enjoy a cruise on one of the lakes at Interlaken, Lake Speech or Lake Brienz. Brienz. Both of them have little medieval castles dotted around the lake, and you kind of do a little castle route around. Really lovely couple of hours spent on the lake, as well as the joys of traveling up the mountain. And then heading up to Zurich for a final night in Zurich before flying back or taking the train back. So starting £2,129 per person from price. That's with the flights out and back. There's some images of the Jungfrau Railway. As I said, it's actually it's 3 different train journeys up and 3 different train journeys down, each of them changing in terms of incline steepness. The last bit is actually going through the mountain. It passes through the kind of south face of the Eiger. It's the Eiger mountain right next to the Jungfrau mountain. That's the top. Kind of looks like an old observatory, but yeah, spectacular views. It's quite, well, it is ear-poppingly high at times. There's a restaurant up there, a bar if you want to have a drink and things, and meal. Part of the joy is the journey. Again, coming down by Lauterbrunnen, huge waterfall, massive alpine waterfall, which has got some beautiful photos of. And you mentioned the Bernina Express, you've got that, but you've also got the Glacier Express here as well. So 2 of the 3 key kind of scenic train journeys in Switzerland. Say the 3rd is the Golden Pass, but the Glacier Express, probably the most famous of them all. That's the Landwasser Viaduct, which both the Bernina and Glacier Express go across. You can see, get an idea of the height of it, and it's amazing. You come out of one tunnel across this huge viaduct, you can look back and see the train coming out before you go into the other tunnel on the other side of the valley. You can see the food as well. People do ask, oh, should I pre-book the food on board? It's all freshly cooked on board. It's to say, I wouldn't know. We don't include the food on board. It's best to kind of pay when you're on board. That way you get more of a choice. It's the same price. You're not just narrowing your options by paying for it before you board. And that's second class. You can see the difference between first class and second class is essentially the seating. So first class, you've got a table with 2 seats on one side and 2 seats on the other side. First class, you have 2 seats on one side, tables 4, and 1 opposite another on the other side. So it's 3 across rather than 4 across. So more space. So we all know that Italy is not the only place in Europe with lakes. There are lakes across Europe as well. So more scenic holidays, lakes as well. Austrian lakes and mountains have been really popular this year so far. It's combining Switzerland and Austria, but focusing around Meyerhofen and beautiful Hauptstadt. I think it's one of the most sort of photoed towns on social media over the past year, I believe, Hauptstadt. Beautiful, beautiful setting, teeny tiny as well. It's really worth getting in there early. Also, there you've got the scenic, spectacular journey through the Arlberg Pass, another historic route through the Alps. Some of the biggest peaks in the Alps you're passing across here. A couple of nights in Salzburg as well before flying back. Lake Garda, we've looked at lots of Lake Como, but you can do Lake Garda via the Alps as well. As mentioned, that via the Alps route, you can pretty much get to anywhere in Italy via that route. It's great. So this one again, overnight in Geneva, through to Sirmione for 4 nights before flying back from Verona. Verona is literally half an hour from Sirmione and Desenzano, which is the railway station near to Sirmione. So be easy to do that. Otherwise, you can come back to Turin. What a really interesting route, throwing other things into the mix and showing our flexibility, of course, is you could Verona or Desenzano, take a train to Munich in southern Germany. That would go via the Brenner Pass, which is again a wonderfully different scenic journey. And then Munich, you can actually get back to the UK in one go via Frankfurt and Brussels, quite easy to do. So that would be quite an interesting, different route as well. Lake Bled as well, Lake Bled in Croatia. So getting some sunshine perhaps towards the end of this year or next summer. 3 nights actually on Lake Bled itself, getting out there and having a cruise, going to the amazing island with the church in the middle as well. And then down Zagreb, checking out Ljubljana as well. Split, and then bus connection down to Dubrovnik for 2 nights before flying back to the UK. Or good old Switzerland, Switzerland's lakes and mountains. We've looked at it in a few kind of getting to Italy, the scenic journey, but again, Geneva, you're on Lake Geneva. Montreux, have a night in Montreux. one of my favourite cities or towns, really. Some great cruises through there. You go to Chillon Castle, just literally 15-minute walk around the lake. Interlaken, 2 nights there between the lakes, and then you've got the Golden Pass, the Glacier Express, and the Bernina Express before coming back via Zurich. Well, I hope that's whetted the appetite a little bit for everybody. I mean, please let me know what's going to. Let me know where any future webinars you'd be interested in tuning into and finding out more about. As I said, we've looked at quite a bit here. We've also looked at Italy and Switzerland and Austria. But yeah, let me know, because we're always keen to find out what everybody's interested in, making sure that we're getting the right information across. My last trip before lockdown was to Spain, was in Seville and Cordoba, and then went to Porto as well. But yeah, I can't wait to get back on the train and start traveling again. These are some of the nice things that people have said about us. I think the regular message we get across is just that how easy we make it all. Again, all bookings are made over the phone, so you have to kind of make booking over the phone. That way we can answer any questions, make sure that you have all the information you need. And these are some of the awards and the publications that have said nice things about us. At the end of last year, we were awarded the best rail holiday company overall, which is quite an achievement, voted for by the public, the British Travel Awards. So we were very happy with that. And that's the website. If you haven't checked out the website, please do. It's got lots on there. We've got hundreds of packages. Destinations tab would be the place to go. That way you can see all the destinations throughout the world. We have holiday packages. If you prefer to have something in hand, then we do have brochures. The printers will be rolling out the 2021 brochures soon, we hope. Again, if you can just register at the website, and then you'll be on the postal list, so when they are printed out, if you do prefer to have something in hand. And talking about webinars, of course, we're doing every week, every Tuesday and Thursday. Next week, top European rail holidays booking right now. So basically patterns in terms of what we're seeing people showing and interested at the moment in terms of bookings and inquiries, the Mediterranean, Spain and beyond. Right, and yeah, any questions? Any questions? Great question, Gabrielle. A great question. When is the best time to go? It's the eternal question. It's a tricky one, really, because I think, the best time to go, we're talking about the best weather or the best value. Best value, of course, would be sort of the shoulder season, particularly for the Italian lakes, sort of the end of the summer, kind of September, October. The best time to guarantee the best weather, you're looking at the obvious sort of June, July, August then, really. But to get the best value, say April, avoiding Easter, of course, but then coming in towards the end of the year, September, October. That if you really want to get the beautiful sunny weather, the Mediterranean sort of climate, you're going to be looking July, August. Tamsin, go beyond Croatia. There are some we didn't look at it. Slovenia is somewhere that's not beyond Croatia, but developing Slovenia a bit more. I think the destinations that have a lot to offer and are relatively kind of unknown at the moment. So yeah, we're looking to develop it further. Greece by train we're looking at as well. Of course, there should be a land route, but sadly the final leg, Sofia to Thessaloniki, is fairly unreliable. So there's certainly plans to go further afield in terms of Croatia and other such exciting destinations like that. Andrew, good question. So domestic rail, are tickets flexible or fixed? We offer the fixed tickets. The flexible tickets, we are able to fix that. I'll double check that up for you, Andrew. Sorry. So the CVF, the tickets were the flexible if you kind of delayed on the way back. I'll double check for you. I can never remember with the UK supplier. Good question. Karine, you'll say no problem. Is there an option to do any journey entirely by rail? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Yeah, don't worry. The journey to the Italian lakes, for example, you can, again, the flexibility in terms of how we operate. So you don't have to fly. If you want to take the train, we can factor that in, and the train back as well. As mentioned, Turin's a really easy and convenient place to have a night before heading back up. otherwise, you can come back via Switzerland. You can come back via Munich, for example, from northern Italy. Absolutely, yeah. So we can do rail throughout. In fact, obviously, surprisingly enough, it's becoming more and more popular, of course. So yeah, that's no problem at all. Andrew, yeah, pre-booking European assistance. So yes, it can be done. Obviously, the service differs from country to country. It's not the easiest thing, but yeah, absolutely. In Italy, they're quite good actually. In Italy, you can arrange to be met. If you've got someone in a wheelchair or somebody who needs assistance, you can be met from the train and escorted to the platform, etc. So we can pre-book assistance. Yeah, itineraries for Eastern Europe, Czech Republic. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You know, Prague is one of our biggest destinations. Prague and Budapest is one of our biggest selling kind of holiday packages. But even developing even further, would love to, absolutely. And that's what we're aiming to do over the next kind of year or so, is develop some country-specific destinations. Absolutely. Wendy, absolutely, yeah. I do think, I do think that the catering services on board trains, I think they will come back. We've all, it's just the world has got to be very as precautious as possible now. We're all fingers hoping for a cure as such, or some way of getting around it. But absolutely, I think it will. I mean, thinking the commercial side of things, rail companies always want to be making money. They want to provide a service for their passengers. So I'm fairly sure that food services will start returning on board the trains as time moves on. I wouldn't be surprised if sort of next year, for example, you'll be able to purchase meals on board. And of course, when it comes to the destinations, the social distancing, it sounds like the 2 meter rule we have over here was going to be refining it to the 1 meter rule, but it seems the 1 meter rule is what they have in most countries in Europe, where you just have to be 1 meter away. So there's more space in the restaurants to enjoy the good food that you get to taste in great destinations in Italy. Oh, children, good question, Gabrielle. What gender? Uh, all of them, really. I mean, the Orient Express isn't the most child-friendly experience, say that. But things like, I mean, particularly Bernina Express, it's a really exciting journey as well. Just the scenery is so exciting. The Via the Alps route is really handy as well, because obviously you haven't got much of a commute in terms of when you arrive in Geneva, for example. The hotel is literally over the road, so you haven't got to go wandering for ages for children and things. Um, in Austria, they've got an amazing things, railjet services, which are the high-speed trains in Austria. Some of them a a children's play car. So one of the carriages is a children's play car. Things like Vienna to Innsbruck, for example. So heading out to Vienna would certainly be good fun for a child. Oh, no, Wendy, not at all. It depends where you're going. All the restaurants won't be closed at all. Italy, for example, has done an amazing job in terms of opening up. This relies on kind of the money that tourism brings in all the major destinations so much that they've certainly opened up. So no, not at all. The restaurants will be open. As I said, it's just the space that's going to be. There's going to be less seats than normal. I say normal, but we're all entering a new normality, of course. But just means there's going to be less people in the restaurant. They'll be open. The longest sleeper journey, Corinne, great question. Oh, the longest sleep journey. Well, that again is this going out to the US. I was out in the US last year. I was on a great trip going through some of the amazing uh, US national parks, and journeys like the California Zephyr, which goes from Chicago through to San Francisco. 2 nights on board the train, and it is breathtaking in terms of the scenery you pass through and the experience on board. So that would be truly amazing. I mean, there's the Canadian train across Canada. You spend 4 nights on board the train from Toronto to Vancouver. The Trans-Mongolian or the Trans-Mongolian is the more popular. Sorry, everyone's with the Trans-Siberian, the Trans-Mongolian, which is 6 nights, 7 days from Moscow to Beijing. Pretty special. Probably not the most child-friendly in a way, but some adventure. Um, in Europe, they're all pretty much the same sort of journey time, really. I mean, a great one which we use a lot is between Vienna and Brussels. It used to be just Vienna and Cologne, but for 3 days a week now it runs from Vienna to Brussels. So imagine going out to Vienna and leave London midday, get on the train in Brussels in the evening, wake up in Vienna. That easy. It's such a lovely way of traveling, such an easy way to arrive as well. Tamsin, thanks for that. Yeah, good to know. So restaurants and bars in Portugal are open already. Tables 2 meters apart. Waiters wear face masks. Tables and chairs disinfected after each client. Sanitizer as you go in. All safe and enjoyable. I think that's the message which we're going to be getting from all cities really across Europe and destinations, is that they are open. They're doing their utmost to ensure that things are as clean as possible and the experience is as comfortable as possible. We said 2 meters apart. I think it's in France and Italy where it's just 1 meter, of course, as well. But yeah, the key is I think the world wants to be traveling again as much as possible. It'll just need to recognize that the new norm won't be as it was before, but it's still as enjoyable as previous. Guys, if you joined at any time before or you missed any of this, don't worry, we'll email you a link to kind of get the recording of the webinar as well, so you can always download that just to catch up on any bits you missed or anything like that. We are here, that's all of us lot working from home. I'm the one, the bottom left, 2 in with 2 little girls who can be quite helpful, but the rest of the time they're generally quite noisy and raucous downstairs. We're ready when you're ready. As said, any questions you have, don't hesitate in just giving us a call or dropping us an email. We can always give you a call back, but we're here to help. And thank you for joining me. That's me looking forlorn over one of the national parks in the US last year. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Really enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful and enjoyable too. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.